Welcome to the Rev Room, powered by BizRev Advisory. Today we have a special guest who we're going to interview, Nick Richardson. Hi, Nick.
Morning, how are you?
Good, great. So Nick is the most knowledgeable person I know with regards to cryptocurrency, and I thought it's great to have a discussion with Nick with regards to the current status and where it's come from, and to answer some questions that you, the viewers, might have with regards to cryptocurrency. So Nick, if we can start at the beginning, and so how did you personally get involved in crypto, in the space?
2018. I think like any other, I was 18 at the time, like any other 18-year-old, spent most of my time on the internet, and kind of stumbled into it. Figured like this was quite interesting. Seemed like a more advanced video game. And then yeah, I kind of went down the rabbit hole. Got some money for my birthday, $200. I can't remember how much it was, and then sort of started from there.
Wow. So obviously back then you saw something that most people around you didn't see, and you took your birthday money and invested it into that. And where did that go to from there?
Where did it go? I don't know if I saw something different. I think it was just I think it's arguably like dumb luck. But where did it go to from there? I think from there it just became like you kind of start, and then you learn a bit more, and then it becomes quite interesting, and then you fall down a rabbit hole that like I've never quite been able to escape. Just sort of like learning about the technology, etc., etc.
Okay, cool. So it is quite a different rabbit hole given the nature of what it is. But so if we go on the next thing, so beyond the price movements and speculation, what is it about the technology that excites you?
It's fundamentally meritocratic by nature. It is it's equal access, independent of geography. Or maybe let me take a step back and like explain it at a bit higher of a level. So the basic idea is the creation of like a financial economy through like math, smart contracts, and this economy is accessible to anyone with an internet connection, and everyone plays in this economy on equal rules, has equal access to capital, equal opportunity, etc., etc. So it's like, what I find exciting about it is like it's meritocratic, and there's no like different rules for different players. And I think that is, on like a philosophical level, a solution to a problem, like the cleanest solution to like the unequal like distribution of opportunity problem that like society faces. So it's a very like Austrian economic idea. I think like the other interesting thing is like you kind of separate the economy from state, like kind of we separated church and state like 500-600 years ago, but we never really separated economy and state. It's a bit hard to separate economy and state in like the current financial system, given the like requirement of the state to like intervene in the economy. But when your economy is based on like math and like code is law, then you can like separate the state from the economy, which I think is like generally a good thing.
I think that's very deep, and I think it has a number of very good elements, and I think that's brilliant. So, I mean, with regards to, I think it's brilliant. So I think maybe just to lead on from there, if we talk about what do you think most people misunderstand about crypto at a fundamental level. I mean, what you've said now is brilliant, but we're talking about the man on the street, and that on its own is like a massive amount of information that you've just unloaded. But most people, I mean, there are those for and against them, but I mean, most of them that are nervous of it for obvious reasons. I mean, how do you get them to understand it a bit differently from a mainstream perspective?
I don't think most. I think there's a difference between lack of knowledge and misunderstanding. I think most people have a complete lack of knowledge, but like disguise it as like misunderstanding. Like the sort of like the basic building blocks required to like conceptualize the idea of like cryptocurrency, or like a very strong understanding of like macro, microeconomics, like math, computer science, game theory, like geopolitics, etc., etc. So I think it's just this like melting pot of like very complex ideas that, like, absent a certain like hurdle of general understanding, make no sense to most people. It becomes like, I've tried many a time to sort of explain crypto to like to very like intelligent people, but like it's very hard. It's very hard to explain. So as in like, what do most people understand? I think what most people misunderstand is the kind of like clickbaity headlines that are all around the place. So like crypto is a perfect instrument for like financial crime, which is like demonstrably not the case. I mean, it's a transparent ledger, so like that is arguably the worst thing to do crime on, like a transparent ledger with like a with its history for like from inception, like completely visible. So I think like the crime is probably the biggest one. The other one is like apprehension around its like volatility profile. It sort of trades with like a 40, like 50 vol. But most people like think about it as if it's like a 400 vol asset. And I also generally don't think, like, if you ask someone what like their apprehensions around crypto are, it's like generally like crime or like volatility. Crime being like an easy one to debunk. Like crypto is obviously volatile, but it's no more volatile than the likes of like an Nvidia or something like that. And it's also not demonstrable that like volatility is a bad thing. It's just a bad thing if like the general drift is not upward. Like volatility should be embraced, in my opinion. So yeah, I think that those are probably the two biggest misunderstandings, and then general just misunderstandings around like how the technology actually works and like functions like at a base level.
Yeah, which, because it is quite technical, so one would understand that. Great. So I do think the volatility, I mean, that's what the most people that I speak to are a bit apprehensive with the volatility. And you can understand it. But I mean, the world is volatile in any respect, so it doesn't move away from that. But so from a business perspective, Nick, how do you see crypto and blockchain technology changing the way business is done globally?
I think it depends on the type of business. It's really just like back-end financial infrastructure, right? That's like really about what it is. Like Ethereum and Visa, MasterCard, or like the Swift network are not hugely dissimilar, right? It's just like financial plumbing for like facilitating trade. So
Okay.
like what really changes things like cross-border settlement, like times, like it's usually sort of like T+1 plus a bunch of fees, maybe T+3, depending on where you're moving money, plus a bunch of fees. Like with stable coins, you can get that down to, anywhere from like a couple seconds to like a couple minutes with minuscule fees. So I think like that kind of stuff's quite important. Things like remittances. Like if you kind of think about what staff in South Africa pay in terms of like fees to like get remittances back to their families, like it's arguably like theft. So things like that, you put some stable coins in their hand, they can get that money there in seconds for fractions of a cent. Like that is a huge value add. And then if you think about it in terms of just like the business on the street, take like your generic coffee shop, the sort of fees they pay, like credit card fees, like processing fees, that kind of stuff. Like, I don't know the exact figure, but it accounts for like maybe 150 basis points of like transaction notional. So like getting that kind of fee down. It's like the general mental model is that with crypto, the money moves faster and it is cheaper to move it. So that's like very broadly applicable to like whatever business you pick.
Exactly. So you're suggesting at some point that crypto will replace the fiat methodology of payment as we understand it now. I mean, is that foreseeable? Is it possible in the next 10, 15, 20 years, 30 years?
I don't think it replaces fiat. I think it's just better back-end infrastructure, right? So why use like Visa, MasterCard, like corresponding banking system, Swift, like that infrastructure, with, like long settlement times, like extractive like fees, et cetera, when you can swap that out for like an Ethereum or Solana, and you can move those stable coins. You swap the fiat out for stable coin, then you swap the back-end infrastructure out for like blockchains, layer one blockchains. And then you can like the actual like real world transaction doesn't change. It's just that the money moves a lot quicker. So I don't necessarily think it like replaces the financial system as a whole. I just think it's like better infrastructure, right? So it's like kind of how we went from sort of like steam to like the combustion engine, right? It's just you're doing the same thing. It's just better infrastructure for doing the same thing.
Gotcha. But naturally, if there's a shift to cryptocurrency in whatever form or whatever vehicles within cryptocurrency, the fiat model will take strain and will have to morph into something different going forward, because it hinges, as you mentioned, with regards to the fees and the way the costs are involved. It does change a lot. I mean, if you think about it practically. So there will be a change with respect to how people see it and how the back end gets affected by that with regards to the different income streams.
I think that the fiat model, like maybe that's like defining the fiat model, I guess, or like in this context, the use of like fiat money. I don't think the use of fiat money goes anywhere.
Okay.
Right? Fiat money has like a demonstrably robust moat. But it's just like instead of using dollars, like you use stable coins, which are still like tokenized dollars. So those dollars still sit somewhere. They're now on rails that are more efficient. So I think it's just like the back end rails that change, not the entire, like we're not going to be, I don't see necessarily a world in which like we're going to like DeFi protocols to get a loan for like to buy like a house.
Okay.
Like, I don't think, like maybe not. Like I think that's further in the future, but for the purposes of like the next like 5 to 10 years, I just think like, like the banking infrastructure, how it is currently built is like 50, 60 years old, like somewhere in that region, probably due an upgrade, and like this seems the logical upgrade.
Makes sense. So if I had to say to you, for the viewers, if you could tell them one thing that they could take away from this conversation so far, what would you want them to understand about crypto that would help them or assist them in some way?
I think it depends. I think it depends on like what their objective is. Like, so generally assuming an objective of wanting to get involved in the space or like wanting to express a view on the space, I would say the most important thing to understand is that unless one has spent like many hours like researching the space, they're like very far from like an understanding of like how the space works. I think maybe to step back a level, the Rees-Mogg, I forget, let me find the name of the book. James Rees-Mogg wrote a book called The Sovereign Individual I think he wrote it in 1994, maybe a bit earlier, a bit later than that. But it's like it's like a book that like outlines like technology and like the sort of future past. Like, it's a bit hard to explain, but the point I'm alluding to is like he outlined these ideas of what he calls like mega political technologies. I think that's the word he used. But these are things like the printing press, like the steam engine, the internet, artificial intelligence. Like, these are technologies that cannot be reasoned about within the framework that we currently use to think about the world. Like, these are technologies that change the framework within which we like think about the world. So it's like you can't reason about the distribution of knowledge through church and state in the presence of the printing press, right? So now like how like knowledge is disseminated like materially changes. So like it is my opinion that crypto is one of these mega political technologies. Like therefore we cannot take current mental models of how the world works and reason about crypto through these mental models. Like the reasoning about crypto requires like really like re-underwriting like fundamental assumptions around like understanding of the world and like how the world works and how the world may work in the future and how these things could be different. So I think like going back to the question of like what would I advise, like I would advise that this is like an idea that requires like many like hours of research to like fully understand. And before like expressing a view or an opinion, I advise like doing quite a bit of research, because once like I've seen many people go from having a complete like misunderstanding, expressing a view, to like doing a lot of research and then going, oh, like there actually really is something here. Like, this is a very interesting idea. I might not agree with it, but like I understand it enough to see the utility of this idea. So I think that's what I advise.
Well, no, solid advice. But I mean, as you would say, there's a lot of information that needs to be read and understood before you can even, because it is a complex subject with respect. So Nick, thank you very much. We so appreciate your time and the valuable input that you've given. So we thank you very much.